Hi! So today's notes are on how geography impacts the Roman Empire. So remember that the heart of the Roman Empire is always going to be the city of Rome. The city of Rome is located in the center of the Italian peninsula, right? So if this is the map of Europe, you have the Italian peninsula shaped like a boot, right? And Rome is right here in central Italy. And because of this, it's not only in central Italy, it's right in the center of the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. So it kind of dominates the entire Mediterranean Sea. So also, as you can see, the Italian peninsula, as a peninsula by nature, has water on three sides, but it also, I'm going to make the map bigger again, it also has this range, which is kind of hard to see on this map, but you can see a little bit that it's got the elevation from the mountains. It's got the Alps to the north, which are a very, very steep and very snow-full mountain range. So it's very difficult for anybody to invade, which protects it as a culture. So of course we've already mentioned this, but Italy is shaped like a boot, so it's always going to be something you can use to orient yourself when you're looking at a map of Europe or a map of the world, is you can always find the very pronounced boot of the Mediterranean, just a boot kicking a triangle, like people a lot of times associate it with like a football, but it doesn't really look like a football, but kicking something so that you can always figure out where you are. It's surrounded by the Tyrrhenian and the Ionian, and which is not how you spell that, Ionian, and the Adriatic Seas. It also allows for protection and an increase in sea trade. If you actually check this out, what you have is a map that shows all these different goods coming into Italy. So one of the things that we talked about for Greece was how their geography limited their diversity of crop and they had to seed colonies. Well, Italy doesn't have that problem because Italy itself has a lot of very arable land that has plains and that sort of thing, but it also, because of its location along the Mediterranean, has access to all kinds of goods from all over the world. So it's going to actually promote trade and ultimately promote the expansion of the Roman Empire. So the capital is in the center, which we've already talked about, and it's chosen because of its fertile soil and its central location. We actually are going to have a video that we will watch in class about the founding of Rome, the mythological basis for the founding of Rome. Rome is named for one of these two brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were said to have been raised by wolves. It's built on the Tiber River, which is a river in central Italy, and which obviously, the same way we've talked about with river valley civilizations, like being built on the Nile or the Tigris or the Euphrates, you need the water not just for drinking, but also for irrigation of crops and that sort of thing. So it's still going to be a city built on a river. There are three early groups of people fighting for control of the land. You have the Greeks, which are coming over across the sea as part of their colonization strategy. You also have a group of people called the Latins, which is where the word for the Latin language comes from. They're sort of like native Italians, if you want to think of them that way. The Latins are the ones who found the city of Rome proper somewhere around 1000 BCE. So they're like the very beginnings of Rome. So note that Rome is not really a unified place at the same time that you're talking about, say for instance, the Persian Wars. It's really after they sort of take over from the Greeks. As Greek civilization is starting to dwindle and crumble, the Romans are rising up and actually ultimately will take over Greece. The Etruscans came from the north. The Etruscans were a monarchy. They were Etruscan kings that came from the north, and they are the ones that are going to help set up initial governments and initial legal systems and that sort of thing. The other thing is we're going to throw in here just really briefly Roman mythology. Just in the, oh, that's not even what I need. There we go. So ignore that last slide. Basically just that they're very similar to the Greeks, and some of the names are changed, some of the stories are changed, that sort of thing. The other major difference for Roman versus Greek mythology is that emperors, when we get through the Roman Empire, some of the emperors are going to be honored as gods. They're going to enter the Roman pantheon as gods. And some of them believed that they were gods on earth, and so they built temples to themselves and had their own holidays and asked people to do sacrifices and that sort of thing to the Roman emperors while they were still alive. So we will get through all the different names and things in a class activity, but just remember that what their gods are responsible for are very similar, but ultimately their names are going to change. If you have any questions, let me know.